he says that in the context of local elections, it is not possible. In the context of elections, he trusts that it is not possible for the voter to vote where they are not registered. So I'm saying that how could the IEC leave that to trust? What actions and direct actions that mitigate that situation, where a person is preventive measures, where a person is even prevented because first of all, you check a person before you actually is allowed to vote in that particular voting station, so that there is no shortage of voters papers and so on. What preventive measures are they going to take this time to mitigate that situation? Because as it often occurs. The other questions, chairs, relate to the
colleagues. Can you hear Honorable Teza? Honorable Teza?
I'm here, Chair.
Honorable
Can you hear
Teza?
me? Chair. Chairperson.
Yes, we hear him, Chair.
Yeah,
Colleagues?
I think it's the chairperson does not hear.
Yes, we hear him,
You hear
Chair.
him?
Yes,
Okay.
Chair, we
Yes.
do.
So can I continue, Chair?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much,
Proceed.
Chair. So the other issue that my colleague has raised of which is a concern for this committee is the issue of the budget cut to the value of 35 million. And I want to ask the IEC, how prepared are they in terms of what they deemed to be progressive adjustments to this year's elections? Now that they have a budget cut to that amount. The other issue, Chair, I will come back to the questions that were raised by my ground forces here. I want to ask the IEC, they offer the South Africa the single registration weekend, which demonstrates to me the restraint and the restricted budget and incapability to offer much more time for voters who would have otherwise had a second chance to register due to work-related and access issues as it relates to farm workers. What happens if an individual visits a voting station to register to vote and later finds out that the presiding officer did not register her or him? Have you considered to give voters a receipt when they have visited the voting station to register to vote? I assume that in the previous your book, your ID, your green ID book, you would have had a stamp that you attach. But in the current situation where you have a smart ID card, how will you do it, IEC? What evidence will the voter have in hand to say that I registered in this voting station as a proof, so that we don't get a sabotage, a situation where you deliberately are neglected and are not registered to vote due to fear of losing the votes and so forth. And bias that is happening, we know it. It happens all the time. As long as I was at the ground force, as long as I was a party agent, Chairperson. So the other question, Chair, relates to that where there's a situation that I encountered. I think it was Governor Mbeki there. I want to ask the IEC, in the context of by-elections where a councillor has resigned or passed on, you use a 2016 ballot paper. But in terms of the current delimitation of wards, Ward 30 voters belong to Ward 1. Some of the Ward 30 voters belong to Ward 1. Even though they appear on the 2016 ballot paper now, ballot paper, they are not allowed to vote according to these current delimitations. How do you allow a situation like that to obtain IEC, and what action will you take going forward to rescue that situation? Because there's a general confusion in the community as to how do you get a councillor who resigned in a ward in 2016, and then you have voters that are still in that voters role that are not allowed to then vote in the current situation in terms of the delimitation of while you are using the 2016 voters role. It does not make sense. Can you clarify it to us, please? The other issue relates to Elias Mutwaleti, residents of Tabakubedu, Lehwating, who have to walk long distances in order to reach voting stations. This matter was raised with the IEC, but to date nothing has been done. What is the delay in seeing it to that this matter is attended to? The other question goes to the demarcation board. What delimitation in Elias Mutwaleti local municipality, Ward 9 and Ward 11 is being what delimitation in Elias Mutwaleti local municipality, Ward 9 and Ward 11 is being divided by a boundary of a road and had an impact on participation